them for you earn a certain amount of money and you have to send upkeep to your cousin, your brother, even a stranger. It doesn't really matter. If the amount you're sending to someone is money you are giving to them for, how do you explain it? It's not because they have done something for you, right? Yeah, so it's a gift. Yeah, thank you. Like a gift. We say non-exchange transaction. You give someone because they did something for you, then that's not taxable. It is you that should have paid tax before giving them a gift. But if the person is rendering a service, and there's this, extreme example that you probably should not even say in a church, but just to bring it home. If you're doing, not you, if somebody is doing wrong girls, right? They go and look for men to sleep with. That's a service. They will pay tax on it. See why I did not want to use the example before. One thing about the tax law is it does not separate between whether what you're doing is legitimate or not. It doesn't even ask you. It just asks you whether you have an income. Did you get it from renting a service or providing a good? You pay tax. So if you give upkeep to anyone, they're free. They won't pay tax on it.
The federal government has announced that from January 1st, 2026, income earned by Nigerians through remote work, social media influencing, and even business import will now be taxable under the nation's new tax reforms. Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, made this known at a tax education session hosted by the Redeemed Christian Church of God, City of David in Lagos. Oyedele explained that Nigerians working remotely for foreign companies are legally required to declare their earnings and pay taxes in Nigeria, stressing that the new framework seeks to plug revenue leakage and ensure fairness in the system. The disclosure, captured in a viral video now trending on social media, has sparked conversations among digital entrepreneurs, influencers, and remote workers, many of whom now fall under Nigerians' tax net for the first time.
Practice. I've not seen a bill that has divided Nigerians more than that, ethnic-wise, religion-wise. It told so many stories. And those who did not know, because it's also something that it is a language that is understood by only the elite. So the average person sees it differently from the elite. And there are a lot of people who were hiding under the disguise of the technical language to whip up sentiment. But thank God that we're here today. But what is more important, on the 8th of August 2023, you were inaugurated, and your life changed. How significant was that for you?
Very significantly. Everything actually, both in terms of my career trajectory, which is a decision I took intentionally, so I'm not complaining. In terms of the financial sacrifices, maybe that is even now smaller looking back. The biggest.
So you were getting lower.
No, so it's just because the amount government was going to pay was going to be ridiculous. So I said, you know what, just cover the cost of what you asked me to do. You don't need to pay me a salary, and I'm also fine with that. It's a small sacrifice in the context of the impact that this can make. But the biggest sacrifice turns out to be the emotional impact, particularly on my family. At the height of it, there were people who would cook up stories on blogs, on newspapers. There were headlines that were really very difficult to understand, and it took a toll on my family. My wife, for example, was doing night vigil every night, and then struggled to stay awake the following day. Thank God my kids are still too young, so they don't know exactly what we've been going through. But it's been tough. It's a big sacrifice. I think it's important to make the point that if Nigerians really truly want a better country, they should not discourage honest people who want to help. It's already a tough decision to try and work in the public sector. Making it harder than it needs to be is not very helpful.
So there are crucial things that matter. And one of those things that we were trying to tell Nigerians is that the new regime of these new laws, these 4 bills will now form the body of our new tax laws in Nigeria, that will help us to channel our resources and be able to harness our resources and make sure that revenue is targeted and well captured. What you portray to us, or what you told Nigerians, is that this will bring about transparency in the very terribly opaque system that we operate. Can you tell us in what way would this law do that?
Great question. Yeah, so you're right. The current system is opaque. And usually, if you're hiding stuff from me, I need to be suspicious of you. It's hard to trust you if you're not open and transparent. That's exactly what we have today in Nigeria. So these new laws require that government should be more transparent. There are requirements around the standard of reporting, the timeliness of those reporting, and making them accessible to the public by the agencies like the Nigeria Revenue Service. There's a role for Ministry of Finance. Of course, there's the oversight function for the National Assembly that is more properly defined. So there will be improved transparency, certainly, under this new regime. But then to the more fundamental point around what does this really mean, right? So one of the things we have been saying, because of the low level of trust, many people don't seem to believe us, is that the primary objective of this reform is not to raise more tax revenues. Because if you set out to do a reform in an economy like this with the objective of raising more revenue, you're placing the cart before the horse. Because tax revenues are the consequences of economic activities. If you don't address how to stimulate economic activities, but you want to collect more taxes, you are chasing shadows. And when you do collect taxes, taxes are a means to an end, not an end in themselves. In other words, the reason why we collect taxes is to cater for the people in terms of their well-being, their welfare, and livelihood. So therefore, your tax system, your fiscal policies must not in any way distort economic activities, and they must not undermine the well-being of the people. With that in mind, we set out to say primary objectives will be, number one, people-centric. Can we stop taxing poverty? Can we protect small businesses? Can we allow large businesses to become larger? We want Nigerian businesses to be multinationals so that when the price of oil crashes to $40, $50, we don't panic. Imagine if you have 20, 40, 50 Nigerian multinationals earning billions of dollars from around the world and repatriating it back to Nigeria, then we'll become a more stable and prosperous economy. So we want to be people-centric in the reforms. Number two, we want to be efficiency-driven. So are there areas where we are inefficient, maybe how we collect taxes, how government spends the money, and so on and so forth. And then number three is to be growth-focused. How can we grow? Imagine Nigeria being a $2 trillion economy. Even if you collect 10% of GDP as taxes, it's multiple times what we collect now. But beyond that, there are also critical areas where money will come from. Number one is tax evasion. There are people today who are doing what you're doing. They're not, maybe they're even earning more than you, and they're not paying the taxes you're paying. That is not fair, and we shouldn't allow that to continue. That will stop.
So this system will not allow...
Have phone number, even this phone number you are looking at.
You can't hide
excellent
anywhere.
Data. Is this gives me. You travel abroad, we have the data. You buy land, we have the data. You buy a car or even bicycle or motorcycle, you build a house, you're going to connect to electricity. We have the data. You open an investment account, pension account, stockbroking account. We want you to do your activities, but government will track those activities so that when you refuse to report your income correctly, we will find out. We want to get to a point where we will not come to you and say, Sheon, how much did you earn in 2025? No, we'll tell you how much you've earned. It is for you to either disprove or approve. So that system is important. Every country where you see development, this is how they build their society.
So are we able to digitize the process?
Yes, so that's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing.
So
we're going to digitize everything.
So there's a new name now.
Including
from FRS to
NRS, Nigeria Revenue Service. And that Nigeria Revenue Service will then work in collaboration with subnationals. So if you live and work in Ekiti State, for example, you can't go and tell them that actually, by the way, I'm resident in the FCT when you are not resident here. That lie happens every single day in Nigeria today. We'll find out. That system will tell us where you're resident. You know that if you move around, your phone can actually tell me where you were yesterday, right? So that data will help us to ensure that, one, we know who is truly poor and protect them and exempt them completely from paying taxes.
So this is a poor man protection policy.
It's a pro-poor